Hello and welcome to Impossible Prompts. Tonight, if you're watching this, you probably already know what you're getting into. But this is kind of our event before the event. We're on Friday, the 24th. We will be starting a 24-hour marathon, and we will be working from these prompts. So these were provided by a whole bunch of different people, some of whom we don't even know, which is kind of nice. And yeah, we're going to go through them today just so you know what the book is going to look like if you're going to get one. And if you're not, then you'll have a sense of what the event's going to be like on Friday. I'm Alicia Rubishua. This is Justin Millian. And let's do it.
Okay. I'm the odds, as we decided to give him up that way. So we're also not going to mention the names of the folks who sent in the prompts. Some prompts were extremely personal and involving mental health or very serious topics. So we just thought we're just not going to mention anybody's name at all, and we're not going to read some of the prompts in their entirety. Some were very long.
Yes.
So even just in the interest of time, we're not going to read them all as well. The first one, and this is actually the first, are they in the order?
They're in the order they came in, yes.
Okay, so number one, which was really interesting to get right off the top, and again, I'm not going to read the whole prompt, but an evocative poem on the beauty of p-adic numbers, that's P-A-D-I-C. And there's a nice little story about, when they were in math class, they got extra bonus points for writing a poem at the end of their test. P-adic numbers, I have no idea what they are.
We're not math people.
Very much so not. I'm bad with money as well. So p-adic numbers, in the 2 seconds of research I did, has to do with the distance between numbers. I didn't think there was distance between 1 and 2, for instance, but I guess there is, even just saying them. Oh, there we go. I'm already doing some research. So research for this one, this will be a more research intensive prompt. And I mean, there's, Alicia also will be doing covers
Yes.
for each individual book.
Actually, I'm kind of excited about this one for a cover. It's like the only one that I feel like I can kind of picture what it might be, or I have like an idea of how to do it, because it's kind of, it's mathy, right? I can use the math, use numbers, play with, I don't know, equations. I'll go off of your research when you find out what it is.
Yeah. And we'll be including the prompts in the book as well, so that the context is important, I think, for a lot of these. But of course, we'll leave out the personal information, as we said before. This one will be, as I said, research intensive, because I know nothing about this, but I am interested, and I love that some of them we got were so specific, and some were very general, but some were intensive personal. Anyway, I just like that we got a breadth of responses, and yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, and Justin's also created kind of 2 lists already. One that's like research heavy, and one that he thinks he's a little more prepared for.
Or that you just can't really research.
Yeah.
It's kind of more personal or whatever.
Okay.
So the second one?
So number 2 is foisted. Just that word. I'm not sure what else to say about that. It was foisted upon us.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have to say something.
Yeah.
I guess on Friday. Yeah, because there's a lot of things you could do with that. You could title the poem "Foisted" and write a poem that kind of pertains to the word or something being foisted upon someone, or it could figure prominently in the poem as well. This will probably be more of a challenge for you.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to visualize this, but we're going to figure it out over the weekend and actually do it during the marathon.
Then we'll be riffing off each other too. So maybe I see something Alicia's doing and I'm like, ooh, that's maybe something I want to include, or vice versa. So maybe we can just skip right ahead to 3.
Yeah.
3, I'm just going to read it entirely. It's not long, but you can't just read one little.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Your dad is seriously ill. Your family is at each other's throats. Your partner just left you. You lost your job. It's a pandemic and a heat wave to boot, but somehow you are having the best day ever. So, so in short form for that, like I have a wall of post-its over there with the prompts just to kind of remind me and point forward what they are. So this one I just kind of wrote best day ever, but obviously you need the context. Otherwise, as some people know in this room, I have a harder time with positivity in my work, and but there's a lot of negativity there to work with, so I'm looking forward to that part.
Best day ever.
Best day ever. I think that's
All right, great. Number 4, all in caps. Betrayal.
Yes.
That's, I think, got a lot. It's one word, but there's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah. That might be a tough one for you again.
Yes.
It's just the one word for the
Yeah,
cover. I mean, you
word.
could just print the word on the cover, but if
There's
you need a
little-
break, maybe if she wants a nap at that point, just write the word on the cover or stencil it on and then take a nap. Maybe.
There might be naps. There's a comfy chair that we might use.
Just get ready to see
as a
that.
necessity.
You guys are gonna get to see that. We'll be napping home. Or maybe we will, who knows, you'll have to tune in to find out. Number 5 is cross-cultural / AKA worldview, or not slash, it's AKA. Cross-cultural AKA worldviews and marriage, why stay and why go?
Heavy.
That is a heavy one. That one will take some work, although it kind of defies research.
Yeah. It
but-
also defies like both of our experience
Yeah.
because we're not really cross-cultural.
So this is where you really have to, try to put on somebody else's hat, I guess. And that one, that I have that flagged. I have 3 of them flagged as being more that I know will be more difficult than others. But that's fine.
Yes, we asked for challenging poems or prompts.
Yes.
And
So,
you provided.
yes, very much so.
All right, number 6.
Sure.
All right. This one's got a couple of quotes. First is from Plato. All poets are liars. I feel like you can have fun with that one in particular. There's also a second quote. The poet is a liar who always speaks the truth. So a lot of, stuff about artists, well, poets specifically lying. There's also a bit of a Wikipedia entry that we received with this one. So it talks about Plato's theory of mimesis and the arts dealing with illusion, and that they're an imitation of an imitation, and that thus are twice removed from reality. I think that might be all we'll get into there, but it does go on a little bit more from Wikipedia. Thank you for that.
I can guarantee you I will not be leaning heavily on philosophy because I know nothing of it really and don't really care to. So
I did study philosophy and I stopped because literature does a better job of philosophy than philosophy does.
hey-oh, hot take. Very good.
All right.
Number 7, this one's adorable. And a girl who lives in a magical land called Karth. Karth is associated with the element earth. And then she finds this lamp in her grandmother's closet, and it shines a really big light, and she is transported to Earth. So I can't do any research for this one because the story doesn't exist yet. I don't know if this one I picture being longer because we'll have the prompt there for context already.
But you kind of need to tell the whole story.
It seems
in
to
the
be,
poem.
this seems to be, this is going to be a narrative more, so probably more of a prose poem.
This one might actually be easier for me, just because there are like objects, like the lamp in the closet, like there's stuff to play with there. The big light,
Yeah.
I think I might have an easier time with that one than you will.
Bit of fantasy sci-fi content.
Yeah, which is also something else.
Right.
All right, number 8. A poem. This is a more serious one. A poem about how trauma and mental health affect friendships. How the strong ones find a way to survive and become closer, and the weak ones show cracks and crumble away. And that one, again, had some more context, but we're going to leave it out just to keep it anonymous.
Yes. This is one of the the ones that I mentioned at the beginning that will be, again, defies research because, or I guess you could do research
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
This one will be difficult in terms of subject matter, but this is one I could picture myself really digging into, and I like. It almost prompts profundity, like it almost prompts you to be profound in some way, which is what I'm going to try to do in all the poems ideally, but in this one in particular, I think it's a must.
Yeah, I think there's probably some like easier ways to visualize this one too. I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, but I feel like this one, there's like images to work with as well. Not like concrete ones, kind of more abstract, like color. You can play with color in interesting ways. I also think that the friendship aspect of this one is really interesting. That it's like mental health in relation to others.
Yeah.
There's something kind of, it's not just like mental illness, like it's connected with other people and how those relationships work. So I think that could be interesting to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number nine. Where if you like humor like that, tune into the live stream because it'll be happening all night. Where does grief go when you're not feeling it? Where does joy go when you grieve? That's almost two prompts, but they obviously work together. That's also going to be, there's not going to be any research done on that, likely. I'll probably just try to kind of riff on that.
I foresee a nutmeg poem in your future there, potentially.
Yes.
Although you've already done a lot of nutmeg poems. So.
Nutmeg is our dog who's passed us, in case people are like nutmeg with the spice.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one will be difficult. But I think having some of those more difficult ones kind of peppered in throughout the night will kind of keep things moving along.
And make for an interesting book. It's going to be like a very weird book, as you'll see as these prompts unfold, because like the idea of like impossibility being the like tether between all of them is not the strongest tether, really.
And as I said in an event we did earlier today, talking with Brad Brackenridge, who was the last precarious residence artist. Right. Some of these pieces, so when you get your book, if your poem ends up being one line or something, it's not because I didn't enjoy it, and it's not because I couldn't come up with anything else. Sometimes one line is enough, or sometimes one line is the perfect way to capture something. And I want a breadth of poems in the book, not poems that all look the same. I'm not doing 24 sonnets or something.
Although you will be doing one sonnet.
We'll be doing one sonnet, which we'll get to at the very end of these prompts. Okay, so
all right, number 10. Okay. Oh, are we writing in order? Yeah, we were just discussing how we were going to do this. I just had a question from the studio audience.
The audience, yes.
So yeah, do you want to talk about that? We kind of decided a way to do this just like a few minutes before we started this live stream. So
yeah, because if we agreed on a kind of if we did a kind of preordained, anyway, I should know words, so that's the whole point of this. If we do an order that is agreed upon beforehand, that could pose many problems. One being inspiration. One being I just don't want to write about this right now. One being I'm
if you're told to do one particular poem or cover in my case.
Right.
Then,
Or if it just worked out that the poem that you've been dreading the most in terms of it's not dreading because we don't like the poem. Dreading because I got to make sure that people. But if it's something that is going to be longer, if it's something it's going to be emotionally taxing, I don't want to have to do that at 6 p.m. in the last hour. So we're just going to be kind of actually, deciding in the moment, poem to poem, which ones we feel like working on.
Well, I think we've agreed, to kind of decide together which one we'll both work on at the same time. So I think because that'll just be a little more interesting for the audience, I think, in a way, because Justin will read a poem and I will be putting up a cover on my lovely clothesline that you will see in the Marathon live stream. And so those will appear with each poem. So I think it's kind of neat to have them be just related to the same prompts.
Right.
rather than just like me working, because I'm more systematic. I would like to just go from the first one we received through the order that we've got them as we're reading them right now. But yeah, I think Justin's got a point that we should go with what you feel like is the one for that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we're doing that.
So that's going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So number 10. This one is very long, so I'm only going to read parts of it. There was a lot of story about this person's Nana, which was all very interesting, and I was glad to read it. But I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing. But the main quote for this one is something that their Nana told them as a child. The right words said in the right place at the right time can literally change the course of history. And so they add, write a poem that has the power to change the course of history, ideally for the better, knowing you'll have no control on the shape this change takes once you've whispered these words into the ether. So you have to write the greatest poem of all time.
Yeah. I was already intending on doing that, so that's good. Yeah, that will be difficult, and there's a lot of context in here as well, and so I'll have to kind of decide what should be included or could be included.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting like religious context around this. There's some like Jesus references,
which I think will help again with the profundity, bits, trying to make it profound. I mean, these are big ideas.
Yeah, very big ideas. This one's especially impossible though. I think it was definitely fit the prompt.
Yes.
Nicely.
Yes. Number 11 is short and sweet. Words on a stone. You could go a lot of ways with that.
Yeah, I wish this one had come with context. It's kind of vague in a way, but also points you to kind of specific moments in history, I guess. Like
10 Commandments.
Yeah.
I don't know what's history exactly, but depends on who you ask. But yeah, words on a stone could also be, you could also do something very abstract there. It could be a tombstone. I guess those are the big two in terms of words written in rock. Those are the big two. Okay.
All right, number 12. Sitting in the asters, which is a flower. I looked it up because I was like, I should know what this is.
And it's it turned out to be like one of my favorite flowers, which was interesting.
But you just didn't know the name of it.
Yeah.
That one will be really easy to visualize. But I don't know what you're going to say about it.
Yeah, that could go a lot of ways.
You don't normally write about flowers. That's not your typical.
No, I love flowers, but I tend not to write.
I think he actually likes flowers more than I do. We get a great flower CSA from Jill Bishop.
Thanks, Jill Bishop.
Yeah, thanks, Jill Bishop.
If you're watching it, I'm sure you are. Yeah, that could go a lot of ways. I picture that one being maybe more meditative. I mean, sitting in the asters is already kind of a meditative thing. Okay, 13.
Yeah.
13 is two words that I picture in opposition: desiccated, elevated. A lot of ways to go there as well. I do picture them as being in opposition, so you could substitute each word for an image that contrasts, or whatever. You could do something like that. Prompts like these, I think, will allow me to really be more free with what I'm doing, as opposed to being more controlled because I have to be very close to the context that's been given. In poems like these, I don't. So.
Okay, number 14 is another serious one, which also came with a lot of context that I'm going to leave out. So the kind of short version is a piece of work that looked at suicide and how it affects the people you leave behind. And again, that came with kind of a big story, which might inspire us, but we're not going to reveal, I don't think. Anyway, that's a hard one.
Yeah, that one's going to be tough. But again, a lot of deeper issues. And as soon as you get into kind of big ideas, like I was saying before, they kind of prompt big poems, big responses. So as difficult as it will be, this is one of those ones that, going from the question asked by our studio audience member, this would be one of those that I wouldn't want to leave until last act or last 6 hours. Maybe this is one you get out of the way, not get out of the way, but that you reckon with early. And ideally, I finish this poem maybe 25 minutes or half an hour in, so I have half an hour to maybe decompress.
There's some self-care.
Yes, self-care is important.
That one's gonna be hard for me, I think.
Yeah.
How do I turn that into a cover without it being like really horrific? I don't really want the cover to have to come with a content warning, so I have to be kind of subtle in how I handle that. So, but that's a challenge, which is what we asked for.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you to these people who are sending
Yeah.
like these deeply personal
Yeah, people really
messages and
opened up.
trusting us, and
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
15 is particularly, I'm particularly fond of this one,
It's fun.
although it's a very fun, impossible prompt. So it is impossible, and you'll see why. But why is Robin the superior superhero to Batman?
Well, the thing that's interesting to me about this is that it's like a very, very different tone from like what the rest of the book is going to be. So I'm going to be
Yeah.
interested to see how you're going to make it like cohesive with the rest of the book.
I will likely go very serious with it because
Yeah.
I tend to just do that. If it's a funny prompt, I'll probably go more serious. Well, I won't go funny. It doesn't go both ways. Or maybe I will. Who knows? But probably not. Batman is, at least I know about these comics like pretty well. At least I know the characters. I know the character development over the years and whatnot. So I'll probably do a little bit of research for this one. I think I already have an idea for this one. But yeah, it's pretty tough to convince people that Batman isn't, everybody loves Batman. Not many people love Robin. But also we got a member of our studio audience who does not care for Batman. That's the first time I've ever heard that. There you go. Breaking ground.
Okay, 16, we're almost there. This one I might pronounce wrong. I don't know if you've done research, so maybe you can correct me. Dentures made of whale baleen. I don't know if that's how you say that. Baleen. I got nods from the audience. Okay, so baleen. Which is like what? I don't know if someone knows. I haven't looked this one up yet. Do you know? Have you looked it up?
It's
Okay. Is it like
it's the stuff they use to strain,
the stuff that you
Oh.
strain it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Their
Yeah, like
teeth.
the little
essentially.
wheel.
Yeah.
Like more like they're
like fibers.
yeah, fibers. Okay, whale fibers that are mouth related. Okay. And they're made of dentures? Is this a real thing, or is this like an abstract idea that they're just like
Well, see,
playing with?
there I might go with like a whale goes into a dentist, like, my baleen's falling out. I need new baleen put in.
Oh right, so the whale gets the dentures.
Or
It's not-
a
it's not
human being. I think it
dentures
could go
made
either
out of
way.
baleen.
I think it could go either way.
I'm very perplexed about this one, but I think it will be fun.
I just
to turn
don't
into a
see
picture.
baleen dentures being that good for a person. So
Especially they're like fibers. I don't know. This is
maybe I'll just write a
Awful.
joke. Maybe I'll write a whale walks into a dentist's office.
no, that's not bad. Okay, 17.
Yes.
This is a good one.
Yeah, this is a really
Not
good
that they're
one.
not all great.
Yeah, but this one in particular, I just never
Yeah.
heard this, and it's such a theme. Weather is such a theme in poetry. So the prompt is a poem about weather in which weather is in no way used as a metaphorical representation. Okay, I'll read the whole thing. A poem about weather in which weather is in no way used as a metaphorical representation of anyone's internal state or any larger narrative. Weather for weather's sake.
I love the end of that.
I already know exactly what I'm going to do with this one. This is one that's going to take 1 minute. This poem will take, it'll take me as long as it takes to type out.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a fun answer to their fun prompt.
And there's obviously things I can do with that too, so I'm not too worried about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, number 18. 1,000 years of planning will be possible in 5 seconds with a quantum computer. We're doomed. Very interesting and bizarre one.
And this is up my alley
Yeah,
for
this is very
sure.
much your
I can say quite a bit about that. Even is it okay to disagree with a prompt? Like I disagree with the word doomed.
You think it's the opposite?
Put the chip in my brain right now. Like I want to know everything right now. Give me the quantum computer chip in my brain.
Even if it's Elon Musk that made it?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a
There is a lot of
Facebook.
problems.
It's gonna be like a Facebook microchip too.
It'll be like a
Something
Black
lame.
Mirror episode where there's ads all the time.
Oh, they're just playing inside your head so you can't get away from them. Oh my god. That's so weird.
That's a nightmare, yeah.
But I'd like to be able to. Well, yeah, 1,000 years of planning wouldn't do you much good if you only lived to be 50 something.
Or if the Earth is destroyed due to climate change.
Right. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Doom is very
Doom is always
expansive
interesting.
idea, yeah. And so are quantum computers, there's a lot to play with in there.
Doom is very topical.
Unfortunately, yes.
19 is one word again, Labyrinth. So
This one was kind of interesting because we were actually having a conversation about the movie The Labyrinth, like minutes before this one was emailed to me. We were talking about the riddle, the like two doors, the red and the blue door, and you have to ask only one question to one door to figure out which one's the right one to go through. Otherwise, you're, what is it, certain death?
yeah. And somehow like a 14-year-old Jennifer Connelly figures this out.
Yeah.
It took 4 of us. We're all sitting there like, wait a minute. So if he's a liar,
trying to, like,
it's
act
the
it out.
one door. And like we actually got like a
Piece
we
of
started
paper
doing,
out, yeah.
like a graph of how this would act. Okay, she asks this door this way. Anyway,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be
It doesn't
about the
have to be
film,
about the
of course.
yeah, or the film.
To do
There's lots, I think.
hedge maze, to do, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of different things.
Okay, number 20, also one word, also all in caps. Journey.
So I'm obviously going to do a "Don't Stop Believing" poem.
I might go a very different way.
Oh, you're not going to go with the band.
No.
Interesting.
No.
Interesting take.
I have off the top just now. I was thinking about it, and it would be a great opportunity to use a map. I love map art, so that would be kind of a good fit for that one,
That would be a great album cover for Jeremy.
right?
A map. I wonder if they've ever done that. Maybe I'll write a poem about that. Okay, 21. To write a celebratory poem about Peterborough. For those of you who saw my keyboard shows at the Garnet, I wrote a lot about Peterborough. I wrote probably 200 of the 500 poems in that series were about Peterborough, if not more, or about people in Peterborough or whatever. I'm sure there was 1 or 2 that snuck in there that were positive. I was born in Peterborough and raised in Peterborough. I moved away from Peterborough. I moved back to Peterborough. I have a lot of feelings and opinions about Peterborough. Peterborough is a very difficult place. Peterborough is a very beautiful place. Peterborough is a very, very hockey-centric place. Peterborough is the bellwether city. Peterborough is, it's a lot of things. And not all those things are positive. And if you want to pretend they are, then have at it. But I don't. And I think it's the job of an artist, most artists, if not all of them, to provide commentary and context on the life in which they are living and in the place that they're in and the people that they know in that place. That was comprehensive.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think just talking about like how Peterborough is like really good and really bad. Like we're often on the worst of lists, like high unemployment rates, high opioid overdoses,
Most hate crimes. in
most
Canada.
hate crimes one time. Yeah, like there's a whole bunch of really awful lists that we're right at the top of. But on the other hand, I work in social justice. I work in a like community food organization. And so I see a lot of the people who are working on these issues. So there might be something there for me to play with like that contrast and like knowing people who work really hard on this stuff.
Well, and there's things like, you know, we have the big, or we did, I'm pretty sure we still do have the biggest Mark's Work warehouse in Peterborough. So
there's that.
we are known for some things, and maybe it's time to celebrate that. Maybe it's time to celebrate that fact, finally, and, you know.
Okay. 22. This is all in caps also, and it's not super long, but bear with me. People confide in me. I don't know why. They tell me things that I don't ask for. All I can do is listen, but why me? Yeah, so that's, I haven't really put any thought into that one yet, but
Yeah, that one's going to be difficult, weirdly.
I do
think.
relate to this one. Like I've had this problem, like a lot. Like I even remember like specific incidents where people have just like opened up to me at like upon meeting me for the first time.
Oh.
I remember one time doing helping with orientation at Trent one year, and this mom of one of this like prospective students just like told me all about her like mother dying and like a whole lot like just I'm just sitting at a table helping with orientation, and she just like told me all about her life and her mother and like all this stuff, and I was like, okay, why me? So I kind of get this one.
I'm an oversharer in real life, anyway, so I think I'm the person that this person's talking about.
So we're on either end of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I like to talk a lot, so
I
I
can
talk a
verify
lot.
this.
I talk a lot, and I tend to get personal very quickly. I just don't have time for the run around. Oh, how are you? Oh, good. What have you been doing with me? Like, let's just start talking about stuff right away. Especially if I know you well. If you're a stranger, then yes, let's stick to the
Big talk.
niceties. But if I know you, let's skip the whole preamble and get right into like, I don't know.
Fair enough.
I know what the.
You're next.
23, the penultimate prompt. Write a poem explaining NFTs.
This is a challenge, but I think he's got it figured out.
I have an idea for this one. I also had an idea for the last one too, but that doesn't matter anyway. I have an idea for this one. This will be very research intensive, because no one knows what NFTs are. I think people that
People who made
invented
millions
NFTs.
off of NFTs don't know that.
the people who invented them don't know what they're.
There's a young child, I believe, who has made a bunch of NFTs that has like made him rich somehow. And they're just like little illustrations, like they're not anything that.
But not the actual illustration, the
Yeah,
picture
it's like a digital
that only
thing,
exists
yeah.
online of that picture. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's very complicated nonsense in my opinion, but
Blockchain? What is that?
what is
I
blockchain?
don't know.
You know?
Yeah.
There was one guy I heard who made a bunch of NFTs of his own farts, and he sold them like they were selling. And people were commenting on the variety of fart. Oh, that one sounded drier than the last one. You know, whatever. I guess people have a lot of time on their hands, apparently, if this is what they're doing with it. Not that I don't respect the artistry of the artists. I'm weirdly more against the people that are buying them than him. Putting that out there.
Okay. Last prompt. Number 24. Please write a sonnet based on this receipt. Can I give a crew member this receipt to show the live stream? I have a printout. If you can show that, we can.
Producer Aaron.
Yeah, very helpful. Is that showing up at all? Oh, I can tell you in like 10 seconds.
Yes, so this one is
Yeah.
this one is tough for many reasons, because I don't think I've ever written a sonnet.
Yeah.
I don't read many sonnets.
Nice.
Modern sonnets are very different than Shakespearean or Petrarchan. Modern sonnets tend to do a lot of like what's that called, like image rhyming. Instead of rhyming the last word of the line or whatever the hell the form of the sonnet is, you rhyme images instead of like matching images instead of rhyming words. I could picture myself doing something like that, although I'd like to try to stick and honor the prompt and stick to, a Shakespearean sonnet.
Yeah. But how do you talk about a skipper scene?
Yeah, that's going to be.
I think there is some interest there in like the weird, like the various words. You can actually like embed the words from the receipt into the poem.
Yeah, like I weirdly want to avoid, because it's a food related receipt, like looks like from a.
Skip.
Skip the dishes receipt. I mean, I guess I could talk about skip the dishes, but I'd rather almost avoid the food items themselves, because when you start including that specific of an item, you're really locked into that. But yeah.
There was also, I'll mention this even though we're not going to use it. There was a sub request. But it was kind of an optional thing, and so we decided against it. But the sonnet about the receipt could be told from the perspective of a raccoon. That's a very odd challenge. So Justin,
Do it.
but I think we're gonna ignore that piece.
I mean, there could be a sonnet about a raccoon finding this receipt, I guess, and wondering at it, maybe prizing it, maybe praising it. perhaps. Maybe this is how the raccoon learns to speak English or order skip.
We're gonna try this one more time.
Oh, the receipt
the
is gonna
receipt
be
is coming
shown
back.
again.
Coming back in. The team here hard at work behind the scenes, making
Yeah.
sure it all works. That it's all good, that you get to see all the fun stuff we're dealing with.
Yeah, I feel like that might be something to play with for me, like receipt paper or like actually like maybe drawing like the receipt out in my own hand.
For the Skip the Dishes logo.
Oh, I'm not gonna do that. They don't
This
need
live
any
stream is
more
brought to you
promotion.
by Skip the Dishes, by the way. I should've put that in. No, it's
No,
not.
it really isn't.
No, it's not. But yeah, so it's fun. I still haven't kind of, or we sorted out how we're going to kind of approach them in terms of order. And I have my wall of Post-its that I'll take off as we go. And yeah, it's going to be, and again, as I said, I've kind of put some poems aside that I think defy research. So I'll really be focusing my research during the week.
And yeah,
on
of course, you're like welcome to watch as much or as little of the marathon as you'd like.
If you don't watch the whole thing, you're dead to me. You gotta watch all 24 hours.
But we
I would
will,
do it
I
for
don't know
you.
if we said this yet, but Justin will be reading a poem on the hour every hour, so.
So even if you wanna
tune in just for that, that's kind of the ideal time to check in on us. Otherwise, we're just like mostly gonna be sitting around working, but that's part of the idea is to see us work until we drop.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And we'll be doing a time lapse video as well.
That'll come out later,
that'll
like
come
with the
out
help
later
of
on.
our wonderful tech people.
Yes. People behind the scenes
Yeah.
doing all the real work.
And I guess we should just say thank you to Precarious for being amazing and inviting us to do weird things.
And the Theater on King.
And the
Yes.
Theater on King.
Yes.
Kate and Ryan, some of the best people in Peterborough.
Well, I might as well just mention everybody now.
Yeah.
Shannon, Aaron,
Andy Carroll's
Andy
here.
Carroll,
with us.
Jeff
Michael.
Macklin.
Yeah.
Oh, and there'll be a live stream of the first 2 hours of our live stream at the Only Cafe. If you predict the patio, the Only Cafe. I've always wanted to do a show
Amazing.
on the patio of
We
the Only
just found
Cafe,
out
and then we will.
today.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
this was
excited.
a surprise. We didn't
Yeah.
know this was happening.
Totally
we are
unplanned
very-
by us. It just sprung on us and we're delighted.
Very happy about
Yeah.
that. That'll be really fun. So if you're at the Only Cafe,
Check us
Friday
out,
at 7
up
to
on the wall.
9, we'll be on the wall. You can't request anything though. I won't be able to hear you if you say anything. I should know that already, but just
You're
in
talking
case.
to a wall.
You are talking to a wall. And what else do we need to
I don't know if
address?
we need any other wrap-ups. Kate, are we missing anything?
I don't know. I
Do
think
you wanna
we're
jump
good.
in and say anything?
No, I think that was awesome.
All right, well, thank you, people who watched this, or will watch it later because you're busy watching the election right now.
Mhm.
We appreciate you, and thank you for all the prompts.
Go MVP.
Oh, paper.
There